Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings. Today we have the vAuto by COX Automotive panel. And Ted, a lot of great information coming out of vAuto.
Sarah, very timely, especially right now with the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We want to welcome Derek Hammond, who is the Business Development Director at vAuto by COX Automotive. Derek, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Ted.
Great to have you, and very timely discussion, Sarah.
It is, Ted. And Derek, just to kick things off, I want to jump right in. How would you describe the opportunity for dealers to bring greater transparency and visibility for the reconditioning work they perform on used vehicles in their online merchandising?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. I've always thought of this as part of the story of each car. The opportunity is significant for the dealers who highlight the value-added work they perform on a car to get it ready for retailing. And I say this because very few dealers consistently and regularly highlight that reconditioning work that they performed on used cars. And that's a shame, but it makes the reward greater for those early adopters. Like, can you imagine being the only one in your market doing this, Sarah?
I mean, it's really the opportunity right now on used cars and really just being able to, to have these relationships with customers and reaching them, Derek. It's so critical right now.
Absolutely. And among the dealers who do highlight the reconditioning work, we hear all kinds of positive things. The ones that do, from my experience, they're all in with it. They have a sense of pride in their inventory. They think their cars are better than the ones in their competitive market. And they report less friction with customers to justify a higher asking price than other similar vehicles in market. And so to back that up, we went and looked at data from over 3.2 million monthly appraisals in vAuto. We found the average dealer spend about $1,500 on reconditioning. And it's just like, why hide that information? I believe the customers know and understand that reconditioning work contributes to a higher asking price. And our research actually backs that up and says that 7 out of 10 customers would pay more for a vehicle when they know it has new tires or new brakes or it has a CPO certification, which is essentially all of the things that tell them they're not going to have a lot of trouble with that vehicle. And what we saw further was that 94% of customers want to know the nature of the reconditioning work that's been completed. And 75% say that they'll pay more if they know the vehicle's received reconditioning work. And so why wouldn't you want to tell your shoppers that you added 4 new tires, new brakes, or did a 60,000 mile service and so on? It makes sense, right?
Yeah, very much it does. Derek, why is it important for dealers to consider this today?
Sure. Thanks, Ted. I mean, like I mentioned, the dealers spend billions of dollars in retail reconditioning, and most aren't clearly communicating the value of that in their merchandising. But a whopping 94% of customers want to know what was done. So I'll say it another way. As a shopper, I want to know what you've done to this car to justify a retail asking price. In this day, a nice showroom, free coffee doesn't do a whole lot for me when I'm sitting at home comfortable with multiple screens kind of fighting for my attention. And as a dealer, like if you just wash that car and put it online with a vacuum with some photos without telling me the story, you might as well just price it at wholesale. Right? Like, what are you telling me that has happened there? And I think being in the business, I've always found it interesting how, if you can see an auction condition report versus what the dealer says about that same car when it becomes a retail vehicle. On my last purchase, I actually tried to understand, just from looking at those two sets of data, what was done, what did they add, what did they repair to get it ready for retail. And that's really a challenge, I think, every dealer faces today. It's like, how do I tell the story of the car at all stages of the vehicle life cycle in a way that is OEM and brand compliant and incorporates whatever kind of their own brand messaging is. And I think it's becoming more important as things evolve online. And I'll share this. And I know from working on the HomeNet side of the business that there's at least 1.5 million more cars on the ground today than there were 2 years ago. And there's just more for consumers to look at. This isn't COVID fish in a barrel kind of times. You've really got to have the right lure. And that's that story of the vehicle that I keep referring to. I think merchandising is back in a big way. I think also what's changed over the last 5-10 years, and I don't know when it happened, but we're all being conditioned to shop visually. Like, Ted, you shop on Amazon today?
All day long.
Yeah, right. So All of us, what are we doing? We're looking at a picture and we're going to essentially the details page and we're flipping through all those photos on our mobile device. And we're looking for information that's going to help us make a decision. It's very similar to the consumer experience you would see on an SRP or a VDP. And that photo and media is the first place that a shopper can start to absorb that information. So we want to get it in the photos so that they see it. If they don't, they may go to a car that doesn't, that has that information. So I think the other part of it, there's an emotional connection here, is that everyone has had to pay for tires or brakes, right? And these are things are going to come up. And so we've all had to fork over money for it. Whereas, if we're solving this problem for them in the future, it's almost like we're putting money back in their pocket. And I think really at the most fundamental level, and everyone could probably sort of understand this, is if you have two very similar vehicles, same year, make, model, trim, mileage, and one of them gives a rundown of all the reconditioning work that was performed, even some past service history, and the other one doesn't, which one's going to draw the most client attention? I think we all kind of know, it's going to be the one that has the one with more information that's readily available. That's probably going to be the winner.
Well, Derek, I'm thinking about, some of the websites that I've seen, looking for a vehicle. And sometimes you have that, salesperson that has snapped the picture of the trade-in and it's off center and it's, not clearly in frame. And then that's the vehicle picture that shows up, when another customer is searching for inventory at a dealership. And so, it really differentiates that professionalism or that attention to detail in this process. But, another factor within this, a lot of dealerships watching, they may be thinking, gosh, I have hundreds of vehicles that I have to get on my website at some point in time, and there's hundreds of vehicles I'm acquiring or looking at every week. What are some of the barriers or some of the hurdles that make it difficult for dealers to really showcase this reconditioning work that they're doing for their vehicles?
Well, Sarah, you really hit the nail on the head. I think about this generally in sort of two broad categories. The first one is more of a historical perspective. And today, dealers aren't really including reconditioning information in their merchandising. Right. But this wasn't always the case. Like if we were to roll back the clock, 20 years, I want to say, I was selling cars as a younger guy. I saw the used car manager spend half an afternoon picking, 5 to 10% of the inventory that was going to be in the paper. And every single one of those was curated. New tires, new brakes, whatever the story is. Do you remember, that time? It was a while ago, but that was like a big activity. And, that was the way that we did. We've lost that. And where we lost that, I think, is really what you pointed to is the photos, right? As online classifieds really replaced your traditional print, dealers now have the ability to list every single car on their lot every single day, not just a selection of it on the Sunday special paper. And so the adoption of that led to a new focus, and they had to go solve photography. And that's been a challenge because you really need to have good quality media for your merchandising. And so as you point out, sometimes it doesn't always happen, or it happens at different life cycles of the vehicle. And so we always try to use what we have when we have it. But ultimately we want to get, good media. Most dealers are at the place now where they've solved that internally. And now they're looking for other ways to differentiate and put themselves out there in a way that, varies from their competitor, really tell the story of the car. And this has really led to sort of this current state, right? We're talking about reconditioning again. As all these systems evolve, we never gave dealers a place to put condition. It was sort of relegated to, you can manually put it on a photo, you can apply it to vehicle comments. There was really no way to do that. So it became a big manual process. And that's really why I think it doesn't get done. And, can anybody have a guess? Like when you do things manually, what happens? It's you end up owning it for life, right? Because you have made that specific edit and change. If something changes, you need to go back and touch that and make those changes. So it creates more work for you. I think most dealers sort of fall into three buckets of what I see today. Number one, the dealer doesn't make an effort to include reconditioning information in merchandising. There's a bunch of other critical tasks. Things get done. I'm empathetic. If you don't have the right tooling to get this done, doing it manually, one car at a time, is very, very time consuming. I see dealers who are really passionate about it. They believe in it. They've seen it work. They're really trying to replicate that on the lot process online. And so they want to put that information out there. And so, in those situations, they're doing it manually. They may rely on RO, which may or may not be closed. So they may or may not have the best information doing it manually either. The third bucket would be dealers that are doing this programmatically. They've adopted a programmatic approach to merchandising, and they have this prioritized into how it falls into their merchandising. It's applied real time as the information becomes available. They never have to touch the vehicle to put that information in. It's just baked into that entire flow of merchandising.
Derek, you described it really well, how in the past we would curate and have a hands-on approach, and how it's changed over time and has evolved. You're so right with these points. Derek, how do merchandising solutions help dealers take advantage of this opportunity?
Sure, Ted. I mean, at the most basic level, an advanced merchandising tool will help a dealer more efficiently capture the story of the vehicle. That's really what we're after here. And be able to do that without as many manual steps as they may have required in the past. Among my peers, I describe this as like tools or tooling. And I'll give you an analogy. Like if you need a 10mm socket to finish the job, you don't want to hammer on a 3/8 or round it off with an 11mm or 7/16. Like you just need a 10mm, right? And dealers using legacy tools, doing things the legacy way, it's just going to consume a lot of time to do the basics, let alone doing the research as to what reconditioning was done on the vehicle in one system, and then swivel chair back and forth and manually enter it on the vehicles individually. It consumes a lot of time that could be applied doing things that are more revenue productive. For reconditioning information, I also say it's important that these solutions make it easy and they're integrated. Even if there's incorporating AI capabilities to make this information automatically appear in the descriptions and the photos and the immersive 360 spins, I think that's a big part of it. Today, within the vAuto system, a dealer using the advanced merch tools can have their reconditioning highlights automatically presented into the vehicle photo overlays, the 360s. It's integrated with our legacy automatic comment generation tools, as well as our future AI tools that we're just rolling out now. And that's all done without manual intervention. So the best case scenario is when the merchandising solutions are integrated with the inventory management systems and the service solutions. That just ensures that information flows from one system to the other without anyone having to take any additional steps at any point. It's just going to happen.
Derek, this is all so interesting because, I'm thinking about our used car managers listening and our general managers and our service directors. And I know that sometimes, there's maybe the concern about, all right, what will get showcased on this vehicle, online, because we all know that customers can be sensitive to what they're reading. And sometimes maybe it's not the right information that can end up on a listing. So where would you draw the line between the type of reconditioning work to showcase and then the work that may be less important or even detrimental to vehicle shoppers?
Yes, Sarah, that's a great point. I think from a practical perspective, I mentioned earlier, we're trying to recreate the on-the-lot process online. And if you would share this information with a customer in the showroom or out there on the lot, you should have it online. And our research shows that customers do value wear and tear type work as a value add. So the things I mentioned earlier, like new tires, new brakes, or work to the service, 60,000 mile type services, things that they know they paid for in the past. At the same time, though, customers reported that only 44% of customers reported that rebuilding or replacing an engine or a transmission, like a more major foundational type work, would add value. And the customers kind of viewed this work, I think, from the results, is that it was indicative of a problem that they like to avoid. And, personally, I might question why a critical component was replaced as well. Was it the previous owner hard on it? Was it a silent recall? Like what led to that? You would kind of naturally want to question. Interestingly, though, on the reconditioning, so the cosmetic side, our research found that the cosmetic work, upholstery, window repair, PDR, things that commonly happen on the lot, was less important or valuable to them. And that makes sense to me. As someone who spent time working in a reconditioning shop in my younger days, I'd rather buy something that hasn't had any paint work. That might just be me. especially if it was done outside on the lot. So generally, we want to talk about the things that are going to add value and things that would be mostly tires, brakes, having a detail, things that are significant maintenance items that they would incur.
That makes a lot of sense. Makes a whole lot of sense. Derek, within a dealer's merchandising, what are places where it's best for the dealer to feature the reconditioning work and values so the buyers and shoppers online can see and know more about it?
Sure. I'd be happy to pull up some examples to kind of give you some visuals as we go through this. But as I mentioned earlier, really the first place that a client's going to experience your photos in your photo carousel is going to be in the search results up against other dealers. And so in this example, you're seeing a vehicle first photo, and it just says new brakes installed. And this is from one of our customers. This is programmatically applied when new brakes are, installed on that particular vehicle, it'll apply it there. In this scenario, this is meant to catch a shopper's attention on a search result and then really bring that into the photo carousel. We know that most shoppers today are on a mobile device and they're on their phone and they're going to be looking at those photos like we described before. So putting that information in really helps to drive that part of the story. And here's an example I actually pulled from a live Auto Trader listing earlier this week. And you can see 3 vehicles here. 2 of them are showing condition information, new brakes. This one's got new tires and new brakes installed. And the other one just says it's certified. Taking out everything else, I'm probably going to lean towards the one that's giving me more information. Certification means a lot of different things to different people. So I call that out and say, generally, I'm probably going to go with the cheapest one and the one that's got all the new stuff on it. And in that case, you can see here, programmatically applied that information to the bottom of the image. And this can be adjusted to however the dealer wants it to appear. But we're effectively doing this without them having to go and touch each one of these photos and update it as time goes on. Another example is not just overlaying text or images on the photo, but we can create and generate content. This is called a vehicle slide or a billboard. Dealers can do this themselves, and this is just pulling in those highlights. And you'll notice here during that list, you're going to also see repeated condition information as a part of that, where you see new tires and brakes. This also, so I've sort of covered how this is in all of the photos, right? So your photo carousel. A lot of dealers are getting into this immersive media. You've seen 360 spins. This is an example of a 360 that's integrated with the Auto Trader system through our product Vehicle Intelligence 360. And it automatically creates this presentation, and it also pulls in that same information. So you'll notice over here on the right-hand side, you'll see new tires installed, new brakes installed.
Yes.
And the way that we rolled this out was, we're not just telling people it has these things. In this experience, which is more immersive and low funnel, we're actually telling them why they need it. Hey, it's valuable to have new tires. It will save you money from having to buy new ones in the future. If this is a maintenance or an item that you'll have to do. It sort of recreates, again, that on-the-lot experience online. It's from early day car sales training. It was feature, advantage, benefit, right?
Yeah.
Here it is. Here's what it does. Here's why you need it. So this is really helping to recreate that for these maintenance and basically recondition items that we want to put in the highlight. And this flows all the way down into the vehicle data. It's going to be a part of the vehicle information as well. And it continues on down, even into the video, right? Because we create video content, and that is ingested in that as well. So just from that one element of knowing that this car has new tires and new brakes, it flows into all those different areas of their merchandising programmatically. It will also flow into any of their vehicle comments, as I mentioned. So without having to go and touch all of those areas, you can really have this story told as a part of the vehicle through all these different mediums.
Fascinating.
Yep. And I shared this example here. As I was looking for examples to prepare for this, I grabbed one, and this is it's a 2014 Mercedes S-Class with new tires. Right? Like the dealer put new tires on this car. That's a $1,300 set of tires, right? Like, why would you not? This is valuable information. It really sets this car apart from every single one in the market that doesn't have it. And so I want to call that out as just an automatic way to be able to tell that story and be able to highlight that value. I'll also share some other examples. Some stores have sort of do this manually. You'll see here they'll grab their total amount invested from the RO. They'll talk about some of the things that were done, as far as items that were replaced included. That's certainly valuable. But again, trying to find a way to do this automatically so that you're not tied to every single vehicle and checking to make sure what was done. And inevitably things get missed if you do it manually. So we'd like to be able to see it done with an approach that counts all of the data that we have on the vehicle so that you're not running around and trying to pull it together.
Derek, great information, very powerful and very relevant for our audience as well. Sarah?
Well, Derek, this has been a lot of incredible information. And as far as, taking the next steps, if a dealer or our audience is listening today and thinking about, okay, well, how do I get started? What kind of results could I expect from my dealership? What's the best way to get started with vAuto?
The best way to get started with vAuto would be to use our website, vauto.com, or you can contact your performance manager or contact us online at any one of our websites or forums.
Derek, great information and very timely for our audience. Everybody, vAuto is a big part of what we do here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And Derek, on behalf of Sarah and myself, I want to wish you, your family, and the vAuto and COX Automotive families a very happy Thanksgiving next week. And thank you for all that you do and bring to our industry as well.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Ted.
Sarah, great to see all this come full circle.
It is, Ted. And, the reconditioning process is only going to continue to take a more active presence, and customers want this transparency, Ted. So it's exciting to see what vAuto is continuing to innovate.
Absolutely. The leader in the industry, everybody, vAuto. Derek Hammond from vAuto by COX Automotive here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Great.